being coal, it would be diamond.
Yeah, that would be true.
Although you'd have to wait another 1,000 years for that coal to degrade and become more refined into diamond. And at that point,
coal has to be compressed into a diamond.
It would wind up being more compressed throughout, say, 1,000 years, and some of it would become diamond.
Yeah.
Actually, a good bit of it, because there's tons of coal in the United States. There's tons of coal mines in the United States. Therefore, if we waited, say, a couple thousand more years, like, let's say we shut down all the coal mines. Of course, that's a very bad idea, but...
And not a couple thousand, maybe 1 million. Or then where we could end up starting to go for our own technology, which is capable of compressing diamonds, but it would be extremely expensive.
Exactly, so it would just be more efficient to, I'd say, shut down the coal mines for...
But...
a few thousand years.
Okay, back to what I was saying about the gold thing, though.
And we could use diamonds to back up our money instead of gold. Although I don't know how efficient that would be.
That would be less efficient than having gold, because we'd have to wait about 1 million years for the coal that is possibly left underground, for that all to compress.
I'm pretty sure there's probably amounts of coal under this house. But
there's probably coal in a hell lot of places around the world. It's just that no one's gonna dig there, because first of all,
there's civilization.
First of all,
concrete.
First of all, there'd be the housings and whatnot on top of it all. And secondly, it's probably too deep for any of our equipment to get to effectively.
Right now.
But again, I always wanted to talk about, like, the gold. If we ended up going back to the gold standard, then that would end up have ended up being better if we stayed with gold instead of going to paper money.
Well, the whole reason we went to paper money was because it was more efficient.
It was because it started out as the IOU. It was, you go to the bank man, he takes your gold, puts it away. He ends up giving you a piece of paper that says you have this much gold in his bank. He ends up letting someone else borrow this gold and tries to have them pay him back. Well, eventually it ended up going too much back and forth of where you don't have your gold in here. I don't have enough gold for all the people who want their gold back.
Yes.
And then they start revolting and...
Yeah, blah, 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 bullshit, yes.
And then, but eventually, the bank ended up getting an idea of, if we had all the gold if we had all the gold somewhere, like, we take all these people's gold, but we end up changing it into a paper form, then...
And then individual states had their own currency.
Yeah.
But later on, back whenever they started moving west, they realized that's when they really first started getting into an actual national currencies. Whenever they made, like, roads heading west and stuff.
Hold on, I think we're going on 2 different topics.
You're going on in general, I was going U.S.
Okay, in the U.S., every state had its own different currency.
Every state had its own currency.
Yeah, but...
North Carolina had its own currency, South Carolina had its own currency.
Although it was generally close enough. And
yeah, but eventually it became less effective as we started moving, as the country started
to expand,
and more people were trading. Therefore, there was a requirement for an actual currency that everybody could use.
Yeah.
Because some states'
currency was
larger than another state's currency.
You have this guy from West Virginia, this guy from Florida, and they
Florida's currency was much different than Virginia's currency, therefore they could not trade effectively. So they decided, hey, let's just have a national currency, that way everybody can trade for the same thing.
It wasn't exactly like that, but yeah, that was relatively close.
That was the basic idea of it. and now we have this national currency that used to be backed up by gold.
Yeah.
But
Now, that was the okay thing about paper money, was, okay, we have this set amount of paper money. It is backed up by all this gold.
by this
We can-
set amount of gold.
Yeah, we can only make more of this paper money if we end up keeping this gold. We can only increase the amount of paper money we have if we have more gold increased. Which,
instead, it just wound up, we increased the amount of paper money, and the
Because-
amount of gold we had went...
it's not the amount of gold we had went down, really. It was
I know,
that
the
amount of gold we had was the same, and part of it was probably taken away a lot.
Lots of it was taken away because, you know, the national bank would, either the government would actually take gold out. Because they, instead of using money, they would use the gold to pay for debts and stuff. So, like other countries, they would use the actual gold to pay for the debts.
Yeah, but then they would also still have the same amount of paper money, though.
Yeah.
Therefore, the actual amount of
and eventually
cost it was is not equal to how much it originally was. Like,
yeah. Therefore, $1 is now technically worth, say, 25 cents.
yeah.
Therefore, you would have to use
I mean,
more dollars.
the amount of copper in most pennies before
Therefore,
1990, like, in 1990, you have a penny from then, or any time previous.
A penny from 1990.
It has more copper in it because back then the penny is actually worth more than the amount of copper it's made of. Now they actually have less copper within the penny because
And more
not
nickel.
even the penny is worth enough to cover the cost of copper to make a penny.
Therefore, they use a copper-nickel alloy.
Yeah.
Because nickel's cheaper.
Yeah.
And therefore, they make quarters, nickels, dimes, pennies, half dollars. They make all of that out of nickel. But the only one that uses any other form of metal is the penny, because that uses a copper-nickel alloy.
Huh.
The copper is what makes it brown. The nickel is what makes it, you know, actually worth something.
No, the nickel is what keeps it from being.
Hey.
No, the nickel is what keeps it from being over the amount that.
It's actually supposed to be.
Yeah. Like, I have this full copper penny. That's worth more than a penny nowadays.
Did you know that it takes more than 50 cents to make a half dollar? To make one half dollar, it costs thousands of dollars.
Because
to make
silver.
one... Yo. Actually, no, they don't even make them out of silver anymore.
Not anymore, because
They make them out of nickel
US
now.
sucks as far as money goes.
It used to, it was the half dollar was silver, and then you had the dollar coin, which was gold, and then you had the quarter, and the nickel, and the dime were all made out of nickel, and then you had the penny, which was made out of regular copper.
Yeah, now.
And then now, it's all just made out of copper, except the dollar coin. That is still made out of gold, but you do not find them anymore. And if you do, you are lucky.
Yes, because it is.
Or you bought it at a souvenir shop. And it's still real gold. It's just, you know, it's a state dollar. It's a state gold dollar. And it's more of a souvenir than
Now-
anything.
Now, there is an interesting law that the U.S. has.
Huh?
I make this platinum coin, and on it I can put whatever amount of money I want.
So in other words, if I got some platinum, turned it into a coin, I could print the word
Only the
$1,000
US
on it.
Okay, I'm saying it like I am the U.S. government. I, the U.S. government, have a platinum coin. I can now label it $2 trillion. Now,
and we could give that to say, here you go, Europe and Asia, take this coin. It pays off our debt.
Well, that, yes and no.
That pays off
It
$2,000
does,
of our debt.
it does pay off the debt somewhat.
Dollars of it, or $2 trillion of it. But
Yes,
where's
but
the
then you also have to,
$5 trillion.
but Joey, you also have to consider the inflation costs because you technically just added $2 trillion to.
Also, you've been recording the entire time.
Yeah.
That's great. I didn't even know you were actually recording until I looked over there and I saw that red dot and I saw the red recording, and I'm pretty sure those numbers are changing.
Yes, numbers.
So in other words, you have recorded us having a completely pointless conversation. It started off with dancing and fighting being the same thing, all the way up to a national currency.
Oh, I didn't record that part, although it would have been amazing.
I'm pretty sure you did, because it's been on for a while.
Yeah, it's only been on for 11 minutes, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, butt sex. Anyway, so back, again, I only started recording like part of the way into the nuclear weapons thing.
Thank you. Turn it up and shut it.
Yeah. So yeah, again, as I was saying, it ended up no. But even though the $2 trillion platinum coin would pay off part of the debt
of the $7 trillion debt, it would also cost more money than that to actually make it.
No, not so much that.
Or
it would cause an incredible inflation, therefore putting the cost of the U.S. dollar
down.
Yeah, it would be pulling the cost of the U.S. dollar down. Even if there was that let's assume
and
we had a
$1 instead of, for example, $1 equaling a quarter, basically, $1 is now the equivalent to a penny. And a penny is now the equivalent to 1 trillionth of a cent.
1 trillionth of a cent is a bit far from a dollar is equal to a penny, but anyways, where I was going with it is...
Well, it costs 100 pennies to make a dollar.
Yes.
Okay. So what's 100th of 100?
110,000.
Okay, then instead of the penny being a
but you
100th, it would be a 10,000. Because the dollar is now technically 100.
Okay, at least you're getting part of the point, though. It would end up, let's say we had a $10 trillion coin.
Doing that as an example. Yes, $10 trillion coin.
We give that to the world and say, here, we're paying off part of the debt. Well, that would also inflate our thing, and we'd be left with like $5
trillion left?
Okay, maybe $8 trillion left.
Trey, the U.S. doesn't even have that much money.
Yeah, we'd be left with...
We would be $5 trillion in debt, yes, but in overall we would lose more than that coin.
Yeah.
And inflation...
Again, as I said, the coin worth 10 trillion, we pay that to the rest of the world, it would end up just making everything worse because, well, now that's inflated our currency to where it actually takes even more to pay for the things we have.
Yes.
So...
It would basically make sense, you know, it's $4, it's almost $4 for a gallon of gas. Instead of it being, say, $4 for a gallon of gas, it would wind up being
10...
Yeah, about $10
20,
for a gallon of gas.
$20 for a gallon of gas.
Yeah, if we made a $1 trillion coin and gave it to, like, Europe and Asia...
Again, $10 trillion...
And said, we're paying you back for all the debt that we're in, then oh yeah, gas prices would go from $4 a gallon to $20 a gallon, and everybody would be riding bicycles to work in that. Because, hey, gas costs too much, let's all get fit. And that's exactly
Again,
how that would work.
Okay.
Milk would go from being probably $2 a gallon to being probably about $15 a gallon.
Again, if it was a $10 trillion coin, and we say we're using this to pay off part of the debt, and let's assume that we had 17, okay, not 17 trillion, the hell we had $8 trillion in debt. Someone would think, well, logically, they are in debt to us no, it would actually be, we are only in debt 5 trillion now instead of 8 trillion because of a 10 trillion coin. Because of the inflation that the US dollar went through, is now worth even less than it originally was, therefore now we'd have to pay yet more money because of the bullshit that we ended up trying to do to get ourselves out of debt.
Sure, I have a question.
Yeah.
So we're like $7 trillion in debt, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Why doesn't the US government go, hey billionaires, why don't you just give us some of your money so we can, save the country from inflation and our debt?
Because people are stingy, people are people, and also, you tell me, if you had $10 billion,
I wouldn't do anything with it. I would just have that money. I mean, seriously. I plan on living here my entire life.
I understand that, but
so
if you had 10 trillion...
If I wound up with, say, $10 billion, would I be able to live the good life? Yeah. Would I live the good life?
No.
I mean, I would probably fucking donate half of it to charities. Because it's just the money. As you can see, I don't usually spend much of my money because of quarantine and, things like that.
Yeah.
Because who goes to the movies anymore? Oh yeah, me.
Yeah. Now, as for the thing of if I had 10 billion or even $10 million, I would just use that to buy gold. Because no matter what, gold is gold.
Yeah, and then give that to the national government and say, hey, why don't you put this in the national bank where the rest of the gold is?
No, never.
See, now who's being listened to? You give the government the gold.
Because that would mean I would have given them my money so I could get the gold, and then give gold right to... Why would I do that? That's retarded. It's like, just give up your money.
Well, who said you were buying the gold from the government?
Well, it would be the most likely...
You could be buying the gold from Zimbabwe, for all I know.
Okay, that would also be a decent
you buy gold from Zimbabwe, and then you give it to the government, and say, hey, look, we have more gold to back up our currency.
And honestly, that would be a bit bullshit, because that wouldn't really do all too much.
Well, it would give us more gold to back up our money with, therefore inflation would go down a tiny bit.
By 0.1%.
By however much gold you have, and it would be that much gold.
By 0.1%.
So in other words, by 0.01 bar of gold. Or correction, that would be let's say you bought 1 bar of gold, that would increase it by 0.000000000000000. No, I'm not done yet. 000. Tell me when I hit a trillion.
0.0000000000001. Seriously. First off, that was way too many zeros.
I got over 1 trillion zeros. So that bar of gold is probably close to nothing. But it would still be increased by a very,
Okay,
very small decimal.
You're missing my point on that. It would be pointless because of the fact that it wouldn't do all too much as far the entirety of, sure, you're partially right that it would end up being too small of an amount to change it all that much, but it would help.
I know.
Who cares if it would help? Let's assume that the U.S. government decided to be complete full-on retard and go like, we're just gonna pump out dollar bills like hell. Well,
Right now they're burning money. I'm pretty sure if we gave them more gold, they would still be burning money because we would still be inflated.
Yeah.
Like a balloon. Like a Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin.
No, you took that joke too far.
Well, you're the one who started inflation.
Like a Led Zeppelin on steroids.
Okay, now that's taking it too far.
In other words, it would possibly be the biggest balloon you would ever see, ever.
From the Third Reich.
It would be bigger than the biggest Zeppelin ever, which was the only Zeppelin that has actually... let's see here, what was that Zeppelin like a long time ago that like crashed?
Hinden.
Yeah, the Hindenburg. Yeah, that was actually the biggest Zeppelin ever created.
And it was
the last Zeppelin ever created.
It was also fueled with not helium, but hydrogen.
Yeah, they really...
Hydrogen, highly combustible.
Seriously, I mean, was it a good idea? Yes. I mean, for Christ's sakes, they had dozens and dozens of blimps, and it was somewhat eco-friendly. But, at the same time, hydrogen is very expensive.
Yeah, hydrogen is expensive.
Less cost-effective than it actually is. Like, literally, it's, like, so little.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it's, yeah. You're paying, it's probably easier to get a hot air balloon and fit 12 people, that can fit 12 people, than to get a hydrogen blimp.
Again, so if I was to get 10 million US dollars worth in gold at one point, it would no longer cost that much American money at any other point after or before that. Because
it would only cost that much money at the exact point when you get it. Other than that, the price of it goes down.
Goes either down or up, where I believe it's more likely that the U.S. government would end up going. Because
did you know that at one point or another we actually had a law?
So again, my point would be if the U.S. government ends up plummeting and goes with, we're just going to pump out as many U.S. dollars as possible to pay off all this crap.
You remember U.S. history, don't you?
A little.
It was just one semester.
One semester.
Yep. Well, now they made it into American history, and it's now 2 semesters, and it counts as 2 credits. Meaning, by your sophomore year, you technically already have all of your history credits by your sophomore year. Or after your sophomore year, you technically have all your history credits. Because American history is a sophomore up class. Because some people will take, say, some people took, like, they took, let's see here, they took civics and economics the same time they took world history, and then after that they took American history their sophomore year.
Yeah. So, again, what was that thing you were going to talk about, a law?
The law? They had this law like a long time ago. I think I think Hamilton created it. It was either Hamilton or Jackson. Whichever was the dictator-like person. I'm pretty sure that was Alexander Hamilton.
Wait, Andrew Jackson?
Yeah, Andrew.
Oh, you mean Mr. Crazy?
Whichever one was bringing it close to dictatorship. I'm pretty sure it was Hamilton, but it might have been Jackson.
I'm not sure about Hamilton, although I know Andrew Jackson was crazy. Between 13 to a couple hundred people he ended up having a duel against.
Yeah.
Behind the White House.
Yeah, I think it might have been Jackson. Anyway.
Also, he had
Almost.
Okay. He also had the uninteresting nickname of Andrew Hickory Jackson.
Yes.
Where it was because he had a hickory cane, which he used to beat people to near death with.
Yep. Anyway, let's see here, and everybody was scared of him. Anyway, so he created a law that said nobody could badmouth the U.S. government, or otherwise you would receive harsh punishment. It's one of the stupidest laws in U.S. history.
No, I think...
No, shush. Another really stupid law was, crap. I'm trying to remember the name of the law. And it stated that you had to keep quiet about slavery. Like, you could not talk about slavery. You could not talk about the issue of slavery at all.
Okay, that probably might have been after Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, that was... No, I think it was before... It was, I think, the president before Lincoln. Or a couple presidents before Lincoln. Can't remember his name.
Andrew Jackson was 7, so...
Yeah.
Lincoln was like 16.
Yeah, there's a couple presidents before Lincoln.
I think the chat is over then.
Bye, YouTube.
Okay. See ya. Tell Mama I'll be quiet then. Goodbye.